Hello everybody! Today we're going to teach you how to make a wire-wrapped bracelet with a focal bead. For this bracelet, you will need the following materials: a focal bead of your choice, a coiling gizmo mounted on a wooden plank, two 12-inch pieces of 20-gauge copper wire, two 7-feet pieces of 24-gauge copper wire, two decorative end cap beads of your choice, one lobster claw clasp, one jump ring, one yardstick, one pair of wax pliers, one pair of needle nose pliers, one pair of wire cutters, and one bead drill. The first part of this project is to cut two 7-foot lengths of 24-gauge metal wire and two 12-inch 20-gauge pieces. You're going to clasp a 12-inch piece of the 20-gauge wire at the end of the 24-gauge wire in the coiling gizmo. You're going to wrap the 24-gauge wire tightly around the 20-gauge piece and repeat with the second piece. This is going to create two long springs that will then be used to create the final bead. Insert the 24-gauge wire and 20-gauge wire piece into the coiling gizmo, firmly making sure that the wires are secured so that they won't pull out as you're coiling. Insert the end of the 20-gauge wire into the coiling gizmo for support as you're coiling. Hold the 24-gauge piece of wire in your hand and slowly crank the machine and watch as the coil forms and you see a spring start to form. Continue coiling until you reach the end of your string, leaving about 2 inches of the 24-gauge wire left as a tail. Cut a 16-inch piece of 16-gauge wire that you measure after straightening the wire with wax tweezers. Insert one of the original coiled pieces with your new 16-gauge piece of wire into the coiling gizmo, and again, secure firmly and tug to make sure that they are properly held down. From there, cross the coil over the 16-gauge piece of wire and slowly crank the machine just as done before to create the original coil to make the new double coil that will be used in the final bead. As you can see, it almost looks like a spring is wrapping around a spring to create the look of this bead. From there, you're going to remove your new coil bead from the gizmo and snip off any excess wire that remains. It is now time to begin adding the beads to your bracelet. Begin by taking one of the decorative focal end cap beads and placing it on your wire. Then, attempt to add your focal bead to the 16-gauge wire. If you find that the bead gets stuck on the wire and cannot be slid down, take your bead drill and insert into the center of the bead and run the drill slowly while moving the bead up and down on the drill. This will remove any imperfections inside the bead and reduce friction to create a deeper opening that will allow the bead to move freely onto the bracelet. If you add your second end cap bead, finishing off the beading of your bracelet, you're going to manually add the second coil to your bracelet. From there, you're going to wrap around by hand the coil on the 16-gauge piece of wire to create the final end to your bracelet. If at any point in time you come into issues with wires breaking, take a pair of pliers and crimp it down to smooth the cylinder bead. Now with the completed bead assembly, you're going to remove the assembly from the gizmo and snip off remaining wire, leaving about 1 centimeter of wire on either side. One end of the wire will be bent into a single loop, and the other end of the wire will be bent into a smaller loop to be connected to a jump ring to then be connected to the lobster claw clasp. Congratulations! You've just completed your wire wrap bracelet with focal bead. This bracelet can be dressed up or down depending on the occasion. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you, and thank you for watching.